What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. I'm late to the show for this archetype once again, but that's okay. It's a new pendulum archetype, which I really like. I know people have a bad relationship with pendulums and Yu-Gi-Oh in general, but when I first started playing the game was when Firewall Dragon was out. So like the combo heavy stuff was like that's what I came into the game with. And later I found out about the old pendulum rules and all that kind of junk and how bad it was, and it was bad, of course, especially at the time. But I always like pendulum was like one of my first decks. And for a while, it looked like they were never going to make new pendulum support ever again. They made the Do Re Mi archetype, which was really butt. And so we'll take a look at this new one and see if it's any good. It's cool artwork. I kind of dig that. It kind of looks goofy, like some spellcasters perhaps. All right, so we'll start here with Valiant's Miko Shinano no Mi, something like that. Level 2 water, 500 attack, 500 defense, a pendulum scale of 1, which is always pretty cool. You can only use this card's Pendulum Effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. That's pretty interesting. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Valiant monsters and monsters from your extra deck. Ugh, that's lame. They better have a good extra deck monster because, I mean, of course that's a very good effect because first you're going to Pendulum summon and then you're going to have a free special summon afterwards. So if there's a good, like, synchro or something like that, then like you're gonna do your full plays, like your pendulum boards, and with like whatever the case, Shen and Borreload Savage Dragon. Then if you can just have like this special summon itself, and then you go into like whatever that one does, I could see that working out. But so far, like, I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, it is a spellcaster. It just looks like one. This is its monster effects during your main phase. If you control a special summon monster, you can add one Valiant spell from your deck to your hand. Okay, so now this is getting even better because if there is a good Valiant's extra deck monster, you're going to be able to special summon this guy or this girl. I don't know. It's a card. You're going to be able to special summon this card. Search a Valiant spell from your deck. It's only spell, not trap too. It's kind of interesting. And then, use it for whatever the case, whatever that is. So neat. It's a good start. If this card in your main monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you can add one Valiant's monster from your deck to your hand. And you can use each of these. It's not a either or. Sweet. That's a lot of effects on one card. Well, pendulums obviously do, but even just these two monster effects are pretty good. And we'll guess we'll have to see how these, main monster zones are moved. This is Valiant's Archer. This is a level 4 water. So the fact that this is level 4 water and this is level 2 water, I think we can all agree that Totally Awesome is going to be one of the big targets in this deck, which is cool. It's nice. Also a pendulum scale of 1. You can only use this card's Pendulum Effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Valiant monsters and monsters from your extra deck. Oh, and does this mean... Okay, so hopefully this is cleared up, when it actually comes out. But when it says except Variant monsters and then monsters from your extra deck, does that mean Valiant monsters from your extra deck or just monsters in general from your extra deck? Because, of course, that makes, like... a billion different differences in there, so that's kind of cool. But nonetheless, again, if there's good extract monster, free special summon's always good. But if it's not, you're special summoning a level 4 water, which turns into Bahamut Shark, which turns into Totally Awesome for the most part, assuming you get one other level 4. And if these are all waters, then just quickly looking through here, they're all waters. Yeah. Oh, this is a fire. I just lied. Looks like there's a lot of monsters, so we'll try to go through these pretty quickly. We'll look at the monster effects here. Spellcaster Pendulum. You can only use first and second effects of this card's name once per turn. If you control a special summon monster, you can target one effect monster on the field. Flip a coin. Okay. If heads negate its effects, otherwise, if tails, half its attack. There we go. That's how you use coin flip effects. Not one that it just destroys you and makes the game detrimental. Of course, you want heads because negating effects is better, but hey, you never know too. If you need to get it over something, like that can make a big difference. So yeah, that's nice. Besides being a scale 1, which is always good. If this card in the main monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you can target one card on the field, flip a coin if heads destroyed. Otherwise, if tails, return it to the hand. Again, either or is pretty decent. Both of those, truthfully, it has to target, so it targets and returns. Normally like returning something to your hand is like the best form of removal, but it still targets. But field spells very, very rarely. Or it's just any card in general, actually. For some reason, I thought I read it as field spell. But no, it's one card on the field. Hey, That's a good card too. I mean, especially when it comes to returning monsters on the field. If they have targeting, it's a 50-50 shot, so that's not the best thing. But most of the time, this is going to get what you want off the field, especially because you're the one targeting the card. Like, you'll know if you have like a 50-50 shot at it, or if you're desperate enough, whatever the case may be. But it's good. This is Valiant's Ninja Tsuki. This is level 6 water, 1800 attack. Pretty weak, honestly, for a level 6 monster, but I guess it can be pendulum summoned. So I guess it's like so easy to bring out that you just can't, but that's kind of lame. You can only use the Pendulum Effect of this card's name once per turn. If Valiant's World, Shinra Universe is in the field zone, surprise, surprise, there's a field spell in this new archetype. Or you control a water variant Valiant's monster. You can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. So basically the same effect, but just a little more hoops, I guess, because it's a level 6. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. You can target one other monster in the main monster zone, move it to well, there we go. That's the secret of moving them to different monster zones. So this is probably like the most important card in the deck for the most part. I wonder what the field spell does. We'll have to look at that in a second. If this card in the main monster zone is moved to another monster zone, it has to be one other monster, can't target itself. You can target one Valiant's monster card in your spell and trap zone, special summon it to main monster zone in front of it. See, that's interesting because most, like, the ones so far all special summon themselves, so you don't have to do that. But nonetheless, this is good because it helps trigger their effects, which, of course, you need them to do. And I think the whole archetype based on zones is cool. Like, Mech Knights doesn't have to own that space, right? Other decks can do cool stuff with main monster zones. All right, so, again, so far, so good. No real complaints. Level 8 water. This is Valiant's Warrior Hojo. 1900 attack, again, very weak stats. That's kind of annoying, especially for a level 8. There's a scale 1. This is a scale 1. Are you pendulum summoning in this or not? I mean, you're probably going to splash in, pendulum magicians in this anyways. At least that's anytime there's a pendulum archetype, a pendulum magician support is just too good. You can, you play magician's call, I think, whatever it's called, where you get to discard and search 2 scales. That alone is going to be worth quite a bit. So, okay, so we'll just keep going here. Yeah, okay, I was on Hojo. You can only, and we'll look at the monster effects. You can target one card in the spell and trap zone, return it to the hand. That's just a straight up effect. Would have been nice as a quick effect, but that's, the only thing that would be good as a quick effect is like a field spell or something like that. If this card in the monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you can fusion summon one Valiant's monster. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Extra deck monsters. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And I think they have a pendulum fusion, and I love pendulum fusion cards. I think their design is so sick. Okay, so here we go. Still a lot of main monsters to go through here. This is Valiant's Buster Baron. It's a level 2 fire, so a little different. 800 attack, 800 defense. Pendulum skill 1. You can only use a pendulum effect of this card once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon this card, to your main monster zone in this card's column. Also, rest per turn, you got to special summon monsters, get Valiant monsters, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. Still neat, though. You can go to freely special summon at a scale. You can only use each of the first 2 effects of this card once per turn. If you control this special summon monster, you can target one other Valiant's monster in your main monster zone, move it to it, and sweet. So there's 2 ways to do it, which is great. Now, hopefully the field spell searches, a monster upon activation. Almost all the new field spells do. It's kind of like their main effect. It's basically a search card with other weird things going on. That seems to be the trend, at least from what I've seen. So that would give you 9 copies of ways to move your Valiants, which, you'd probably want 12, but maybe some of the other ones do it too. Off to a good start. Well, assuming the field spell searches. Otherwise, there's 6, and that's not so great. If this card in the main monster zone is moved, you can target one card in a pendulum zone, place it in the adjacent spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Huh. Wow, that's really interesting and weird. Monsters like pendulum monsters are going to be somewhere outside of the pendulum zones because of this. It's neat, and it's going to trigger effects. So yeah, why not? Sure. Okay. This is level 4 fire, pendulum scale 1. Again, all of them are low scale, I suppose. And during your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Rest of the turn, no Valiant monsters, yada, yada, yada. During your main phase, if you control this special summon monster, you can place one of your Valiant's monsters from your face-up extra deck into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. It's interesting it says into the spell and trap zone. It doesn't say into the pendulum zones. But you would probably always put it in the Pendulum Zone, I'm assuming. Although theoretically, you could just put it anywhere and then move it with one of the monsters. Like that way, you're getting advantage if you already have your scale set. Or yeah, I mean that definitely works. So these are really neat mechanics. I'm actually kind of digging this deck because I feel like there's gonna be you have to put a lot of thought in it, at least in face value. If this card in the monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you can place one of your Valiant's monsters from your face of extra deck into the Pendulum Zone. So you get to do it twice, I guess, which is going to trigger 2 effects. So this is pretty much like the most important one. It's a good card. I don't know. I don't think there's any fire searchers as far as I can think of. But yeah. Okay, I know there's definitely some fusions here. So machine pendulum. I just want to make sure I don't miss it like horribly. This is a level 10 water. Fusion. Okay, so we are getting there. There's still a little bit left in the main, though, so that's kind of nice, I suppose. I will go to the next one, level 6 fire, 1700 attack, 1700 defense, pendulum scale. If Valiant's World, Vasin is in your field zone, or you control a fire Valiant's monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. So this one doesn't have the restriction. Don't know why, but okay. I guess it can't hurt. And then you can only use each of the first and second effects of this card once per turn. During your main phase, you can roll 1 dice, then excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the result, and if you do, add 1 excavated Valiant's monster to your hand. Also, shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. Even if you roll 1, when I think of, Pendulum, like you're just playing a bunch of Pendulum cards, and obviously if you roll a 6, you're going to hit a Valiant monster, or else your deck is just built really funky. So that's pretty cool. Even 2 or I think 3 would probably get you there most of the time. So that's a very nice effect. I can appreciate that. Again, I think this is a great way to handle the whole dice rolling mechanic. If this card in the main monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you can roll dice. Then if the result is 2 to 5, you can special summon 1 monster in your spell and trap zone into the main monster zone in front of it. All of them pretty much do that anyways. I think there was another one that kind of had the same effect that I just went over. I mean, it's not going to be a bad thing. Sure. I mean, you get a high chance. See, this one's kind of sus because this card may not make the deck. It is definitely based on chance. You roll a 1 here, you roll a 1 or a 6 in this one. You get nothing out of it other than having you have a body, so bodies are always good, but yeah, I'm not so great on that one. It's kind of the first iffy one, which is the nature of any archetype. They put throwaways in there. I'm not saying it's a throwaway, but it's in candidacy for being that. This is Valiant's Dominator Duke, level 8 fire, 2000 attack, 2000 defense. Finally, some decent stats, although it's a level 8. If Valiant's World is in the field zone, you control a fire Valiant's monster. You can special summon this card to a main monster zone in this card's column. Machine Pendulum Effect. 2 effects, once per turn. You can target 1 set card in the spell and trap zone. It cannot be activated this turn. I wish this said it couldn't be activated. 2. Kind of like, I suppose it is like Trickstar Light Stage, I'm pretty sure it's called. It kind of has the same effect. I mean, if only this was like a lower level, because like the implications I'm thinking of against Sword Soul, you want to target their blackout if you're able to, get rid of some of their other disruption, I suppose, or at least this would help trigger that out pretty well. But, it could force out some stuff way earlier than your opponent wants to, which could be a good thing for breaking boards. If this card in the monster zone is moved to another monster zone, you could target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls in the main monster zone, take control of it, and treat it as a Valiant's monster, but it cannot declare an attack nor activate its effects. Well, who cares? Because you're going to be fusion summoning, with them every once in a while. I mean, it's a going second card, so like maybe this is like one of the pendulums you side in, and it's a good side card for sure. You can use each of these, meaning that you can definitely do a lot of cool stuff with it. I mean, if it gets in-perm, it's kind of unfortunate, but trading an in-perm with this card, I feel like would definitely be, pretty decent. It's a level 8. There's probably a lot you can do with it, especially in the level 8 category. And keep going higher. Level 10, this obviously is not going to be pendulum summoned, or at least I would assume. Oh, this is the fusion, so that makes much more sense. It's a pendulum scale of 10. Okay, so a pendulum effect, you can only use the pendulum effect of this card once per turn. You can activate one of the following effects. Special summon this card to your main monster zone in this card's column. Move 1 monster in your monster zone into an adjacent monster zone. So, just right there, it does the 2 biggest important effects. If it's killed, And it goes to the pendulum zone, because I'm assuming that's what every fusion pendulum has that effect. Otherwise, it wouldn't be, it would be no use. So when it's destroyed, it's going to go there, and then it's going to be able to freely special summon itself. Yeah, that's super dope. And as a pendulum effect, you get to start moving some stuff in different monster zones. This is off to a great start to start triggering some of these effects. During either main phase, quick effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, destroy any card in your opponent's spell and trap zone in the same column as a target. And if you destroyed a monster card, your opponent loses life points equal to its attack. Also place the target into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. I gotta read that again. That is whack. During either main phase, quick effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, destroy any card in your opponent's spell and trap zone in the same column as that target. And if you destroyed a monster card, your opponent loses attack equal to its attack. Also place the target into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell card. Wow. So you're just banishing whatever monster that is as a continuous spell. You're going to see a lot of weird-looking boards with this deck, and I think that's really neat. And then second, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, not by battle, curses. But I'm pretty sure it still goes to the face-up extra deck and I was going to say be Pendulum Summon, but it's a level 10, so it's not going to happen. It has to be by card effect. It's only a 2800 attack body. So that's definitely, why can't this be 3,000? But a good boss monster to start off with, no doubt about it. Is this one? This is also a fusion pendulum. Wow, this is a really expansive archetype to just be announced. So this is a level 10. This is Grand Duke, 2,500 attack, 2,500 defense. Again, really mediocre stats for these cards. I know battle phase isn't all that important, but it is still part of the game. You can't ignore it. But I guess you get to use this effect to get rid of a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff can be taken care of with the first one. You can activate one of the following effects. Special on this card to your main monster zone. Again, pretty sick. Move one monster in your monster zone into an adjacent monster zone. These two boss monsters both have, again, the most important effects in the archetype. It takes 2 Valiant monsters, and pretty cool. One of them, I don't remember. Once you take control and have it be a Valiant monster, meaning you can fusion summoning your opponent's card. It's like a longer way around, Super Poly, but certainly it's very easy because it becomes a Valiant monster, and you just need 2 Valiant monsters. It's not like the Dark Valiant Fire, like none of that stuff. Must first be fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing 1 level 5 or higher non-fusion Valiant monster you control that is in the same column as an extra monster zone. So theoretically, if you take control of one of your opponent's high-level monsters, not saying that's always going to happen. That'd be really nice. If it was like a Synchro or something like that, like a really high-level like boss monster in your opponent's board, like a Fleur. So that's pretty cool. It's a really weird effect. Must be fusion summon or special summon by attributing 1 level 5. So, yeah, it's going to be a key interaction. I'm feeling a lot of going second vibes from this deck. But we'll see what people end up doing with it, and certainly I will be looking at this archetype because I feel like I'm all in on it. If this card is special summon, you can target 1 monster card in your opponent's spell and trap zone, return it to the hand, and if you do inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack, then this card gains attack equal to half the damage inflicted. I mean, that's good because you're going to be able to place them in the pendulum zone, obviously, but first of all, this is only a going second card, which makes sense. It gives you versatility if you're going first or second. But you better be going for game because if you're giving your opponent like a monster back in their hand. Now, if you sent back, something from the extra deck, that's cool. That's cool beans. Otherwise, you're never going to return like a play starter back to their hand that you negated or destroyed or whatever the case may be, right? But nonetheless, again, I think a good foundation for this card. Not a bad card at all. And the obligatory field spell here, when this card is activated, place 1 Valiant. Oh, interesting. This is I think I heard about this. Like the field spells replace themselves. When this card activation resolved, place 1 Valiant field spell from your deck face up into your opponent's field zone. Dream Mirrors, I'm pretty sure did that too. Maybe. If there are 2 cards in the field zones, the turn player can target 1 monster in their spell and trap zone, special summon it into any monster zone in front of it. Again, I think there's like almost too much importance on doing this because all the pendulums do that already. But okay. And we'll see what the other one does. When this card activation resolves, okay, so you just place the other one. They both do the same exact thing. If there are 2 cards in the field zones, the turn player can target one of their opponent's monsters in the same column as their monsters. Destroy any card in your opponent's spell and trap zone that is in the same column. Also, place that target in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Jeez, it's a complicated effect. One more time. If there are 2 cards in the field zone, so obviously it's going to happen, the turn player can target one of their opponent's monsters in the same column as their monsters. Destroy any card in your opponent's spell and trap zone in the same column. Also, place the target into the spell and trap zone. My temperature check on these is not great. I thought they would definitely, well, is it really that important? There are 2 cards in the field zones. You can target one monster. I mean, again, like I said, that one already does it. Yeah, honestly, I feel like these are kind of a wash. I don't feel too good about these field spells, but the annoying thing is that some of these like require that you do have them. I don't know if that's like so bad, like because again, a lot of these special summon inherently that you can like afford to lose that, but it's a lot of spell and trap hate in this deck, so you gotta feel that's a good thing in Pendulum because just they basically don't have that like. Available to them. Like Pendulum decks have to go like only into their extra deck to solve some of these problems. So this kind of fixes that a bit. But no monster negation just quite yet. But you do have the whole Pendulum summoning is nuts. Like don't get me wrong. So you obviously be able to go into your deck to do a whole lot of cool stuff. But yeah, that was a pretty long look, man. That's a lot of cards. Let me know what you guys think about this deck in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.